Landscape architects generally have a passion for design and understanding of design. They usually have a passion for their environment.
For me and landscape architecture, it was love at first sight.
To me, being a landscape architect is bringing together 5 disciplines: art, architecture, environmental design, town planning and engineering.
It's the only one of the design disciplines that has an environmental basis.
Well, I guess it's the synergy between art and science.
Almost anything you can consider that is part of an environment, be it urban or rural, interacts with what a landscape architect does.
Whereas the architectural profession has moved more to the design of the beauty of the object, the landscape profession has moved to that design of cities and space.
It provides that important link between natural environments and nature and the urban environment, and to integrate those two together for the benefit of the community.
Before any buildings or before any roads or before anything happens on the site, you usually get a landscape architect in there doing an analysis of what the site capacity is and how it fits into its environment.
Design is a very important part of landscape architecture in the sense that it's a problem-solving profession. You get presented with a problem and you design your way out of that problem.
They can think beyond the single building, and they think how things can evolve over time.
The greatest landscapes in the world, the people who've designed them have been able to predict that, what will happen through time.
Here in Australia, landscape architects have been quietly working away, doing their thing, doing what they do best, and that's transforming our communities. Now, how they do that is by designing public spaces and environments, making them accessible, welcoming and environmentally sustainable, making them places where people want to be, where they want to spend time, the places that they're naturally drawn to, like the Esplanade here in Cairns. Now, this Cairns foreshore was literally transformed from a tidal mudflat into this incredible public facility. Looking around, quite honestly, this feels like it has been here forever.
The Cairns Esplanade project was always about revitalising the city. It was about how do we get people back into the CBD. On a project of this scale, there were about 15 different disciplines involved. It was our responsibility to bring all of those consultants together in a coordinated way to get the project built.
As with any landscape project, the environmental issues affecting the site were recognised right from the beginning and were an overriding concern all the way through the project. Now, this happens to be an internationally recognised migratory bird habitat, so it was critical that any development have minimal impact on that.
We had to try and get people as close to the birds as we could without scaring the birds away, and at the same time not destroy the habitat in which the bird has come to enjoy.
Whilst a huge part of this project was about being environmentally sensitive and taking care of the wildlife, a huge part of it was about taking care of the people, creating a place where they could connect with nature, connect with each other, and of course have a renewed sense of pride and ownership in their city.
It's been fantastic to be responsible as the principal consultant to deliver a project that has an impact on a city.
So good design with people in mind means good places for people. So right now, right across Australia, landscape architects are playing a huge part in helping to renew and improve our town and city centres, and quite simply making them better places to be.
The whole master planning for Sydney Olympic Park was actually led by landscape architects. It's one of the largest environmental restoration and rehabilitation projects probably undertaken in Australia. It's really a landscape of hope.
Landscape architects create spaces from the grandest scale right down to a micro scale. From the challenge of, say, designing an outback resort or a freeway corridor, down to the design of an inner city urban park.
This park was part of an industrial waterfront, disused industrial waterfront, and the idea was that the planners had decided to move the city in this westward direction and to redevelop Pyrmont as a new community. Early in the analysis stage, we went through a process that said, look, we don't want a small, intimate park with tiny little spaces. This has really got to relate to its city environment, the scale of openness that the area has. There are sculptures and artwork within the park itself that all relate to the water, the movement and the park's location. A lot of the things that happened here are a reflection of its place.
Roma Street Parkland is one of the largest inner city parklands with a subtropical theme. It's only about 2 or 3 minutes walk right from the heart of the city, and it's amazing to come into this beautiful sort of area of approaching 500,000 individual plants here.
We tend to forget that in fact our enormous cities, or the cities that characterise the 21st century, are gigantic in scale, and nature must have a place within them in order to survive.
It's quite amazing when you look at just how in the middle of a city we've created this oasis, and with it have come, without being introduced, wildlife. Waterways, cascades and streams come into the central lagoon, and it's like a giant whirlpool that pivots around, and then the water goes out through the wetlands and is treated by those wetlands in a natural fashion before it goes back through the system again. What we've really done with Roma Street is to open up this incredible sort of 20 hectares of land which was inaccessible to the people of Brisbane for more than 100 years, and we've released this land now into public ownership for all time.
The way we live in the heart of our major cities is also changing. Urban renewal is breathing life back into places that were once considered industrial or just plain undesirable.
Victoria Park is a mixed-use development. It's a 24-hectare site, and in it what's been planned is areas for people to live, to work, to play. The whole site was just massive industrial buildings. There was no landscape whatsoever. It was basically an inert, dead site on the surface. But underneath it, it had an amazing sand layer which goes down for about 30 metres, and all the waters from upstream in Centennial Park and Paddington and so on are flowing underneath this site and filling Botany Bay. Now we're going back and understanding what actually nature was doing here and reconstructing that ecology.
Burrung Ma is part of a larger picture for Melbourne, and that larger picture, when it comes to its parks and gardens, was the linking of the parks and gardens, particularly around the east of the city. The design itself is really the design of a park that is both modern in its interpretation and fulfills a modern function of containing activities, but has memory in it, and memory of what the site was used for before. What we've got here at Burrung Ma is a park that hasn't been designed in the traditional palette of Melbourne's parks. We inherited this magnificent avenue of elms, and that obviously is an important consideration. We've retained that, but all the new plantings are indigenous species, low maintenance, low water requirements, and basically designed to keep a low maintenance regime as we go into the future.
As the world gets more crowded and our resources more limited, it's really important that we find new ways of protecting our native bushland and enriching our built environments, and in doing so, improving the quality of our lives.
In my view, great design in landscape architecture not only balances the needs for human use and the care of the environment, it improves both of those things, but it does it in a poetic way. It does it in a way that inspires the imagination of the users and projects a future that nobody could have imagined.
The type of people that are going to be attracted to landscape architecture are people who are passionate about both sides of that equation. They're passionate about the ecology and the scientific aspects, and they're passionate about the artistic and the urban qualities of our existence and our lives.
I think one of the challenges for the 21st century is the environmental aspects of the design of any open space.
The world is made up of landscapes, so learning about how they happen, how to make them happen, how to look after them is an endless story. And I think that's why landscape architects are so passionate about what they do, because everywhere they go in the world there is a landscape, and there is a landscape with a story.